need.
No worries. Game on. That's basically what this is. This lawsuit that Linwood filed, very noted attorney, Steve and Jack and everybody in War Room. I mean, this is a serious lawsuit. This is a breach of the rules. Only the General Assembly can make these rules, and they were not followed. So it is possible that this thing ends up in the hands of the Supreme Court, no question about it. But the main thing is here right now, the outrage of Georgians who voted for Trump, many of them elected officials, absolutely beside themselves over the fact that we have this phony recount, this fraud recount. They don't have but one person watching for every 10 teams. That means one person has to observe 10 tables. Asinine. You can't do it. The Republican Party of Georgia, led by David Schaefer, has been all over this. He's saying, I've got the people. I've got them right here. Not going to cost you anything. Raffensperger, the Secretary of State Republican, refuses to let them in. So we get the same thing going on because he doesn't want to expose the corruption on his watch. Then you've got fraudulent ballots just being recounted through a machine by hand. This makes no sense. What they wanted was every single absentee ballot to be scrutinized. Is it legal? Does the address match? Are they registered to vote someplace else? Does the envelope signature match? Is it real? And if it is, fine. Let me just give you a stat. In the 2018 election between Stacey Abrams and Governor Brian Kemp, by the way, he has been totally AWOL, and I'll talk about that in a minute. 3.5%, Steve and Jack, 3.5% of the mail-in ballots were designated as invalid because they were fraudulent or they were not real. They were thrown out. 3.5% of the ballots thrown out. In this election in 2020, only 0.5%. Well, you add that 3% up, I mean, that's 100,000 votes.
That's a victory for Trump. Biden. This is the key. That's a victory for Trump.
How did it go?
100%.
Let me just ask you, with the number of absentee ballots going up,
yes,
50 times, how do you go from a 3.5% invalid rate to a 0.5%?
You should go to 10. You should go to 10. You should go to 10%. And I don't care how good the Democratic Party is. This is the key point in the stats people should understand. Same in Pennsylvania, the naked ballot situation is supposed to be 10%. Particularly because you had more marginal voters, people that didn't vote that often, actually doing this. The same thing across the country. This is the heart of it. That they had this in Pennsylvania. It's 2.6 million. Even their top forecast was 2 million. 2.6 million. We can't get any readout on the kill rate. What is the kill rate right now in Georgia as you know it? It's 0.5%. 0.1%. It's 1/2 of 1%
kill rate. Right, 1/2 of 1%. 2018, 3.5% with 50 times less mail-in ballots. I mean, they had 1,200,000 mail-in ballots in Georgia out of a total of 5 million people that voted. Steve, you can do math without an abacus. That's 25%. You got 25% of the ballots came by mail, where in 2018 it was only 5%. Now you got 25% coming by mail, and you're going to tell me that there was only a 0.5% invalid rate, and now the Secretary of State Republican is not allowing the signatures to be checked or anything else, which is totally within his purview. We had a rally yesterday on the Capitol Square led by warriors, Jenny Beth Martin, Debbie Dooley. I was a speaker there. We had about 150 people demanding that you get a legitimate recount. Meantime, Governor Brian Kemp, AWOL. In fact, there was a chant going on there, where's Kemp? Where's Kemp? He's AWOL. Now he says has to quarantine for COVID. This is outrageous. No leadership from this governor whatsoever, who owes his job to Trump and his supporters. AWOL, not on the scene. You got Jeff Duncan, the establishment lieutenant governor, trying to protect his butt, going on CNN saying, there's nothing to see here. There is no fraud. How do you know there isn't any fraud if you don't check for the fraud? How do you know that? You have no earthly idea.
John, I have a big question because when you look at this compromise settlement agreement and release, there are two parties to this, right? Raffensperger is one of those parties. I would imagine that he is bound by this document as well. So if he is not following the procedures set out here in just the spring of this year to confirm the signatures, then it seems to me this guy needs to be pulled out of his job tomorrow.
Well,
today.
The two incumbent senators called on him to resign in a very terse statement. Perdue and Kelly Loeffler, both of which not known for being rabble-rousers, if you will. I mean, they called on Tuesday for him to resign. So did the chairman of the Republican Party of Virginia, and as did many who are in the party that were identified to be with establishment, have come out and said, "Look, we just had it. You can't go forward with this guy." But this thing is not
John, hang over a second. Can you stay over for the next segment? We're going to finish this hour with you. I get other questions about establishment people. John Fredericks has shifted the flag of the John Fredericks Radio Network to Georgia. This is how important Georgia is. Remember, folks, in this rally today and the Stop the Steal, the support of President Trump.
War Room Pandemic with Stephen K. Bannon.
The epidemic is a demon, and we cannot let this demon hide.
War Room Pandemic. Here's your host, Stephen K. Bannon.
We're going to go back to John Fredericks in Atlanta, but we've got some great footage. When we get the footage up, look at that. That's the footage right now of what's happening here in Washington, D.C., down at Freedom Plaza. We're going to have Ben Berquam and the team of Real America's Voice down there, Fog City Midge, the entire team down there. But I want to go back. Let's keep that footage up. Look at this. Wow. This is Stop the Steal. This is an outpouring, self-organizing, no money, just people showing up to support the president. President Trump has already done a drive-by, right, with his MAGA hat on. So folks out there understand, there are patriots down for the fight. We don't care about the summer soldiers. We don't care about the Sunshine Patriots. It doesn't matter. We're not holding it against them. Understand, people have priorities in life and got to do things. Our priority is saving this republic and saving the Constitution, and we're throwing down hard on this. I'm not going to back up an inch. I want to go down to, let's keep that footage up. Look at that. That is massive right there, right?
Do you know what I see in that video, and people who are on radio probably can't hear it, but there are multitude of Republic of Vietnam flags out there, and there's a big Vietnamese population in Washington, D.C. But what it tells me is this is a movement that understands the fear of communism and socialism, and they are out in the streets, man.
You got New Federal State. We're going to do the Chinese version. It's incredible. These people have lived under the boot of communism, understand what they're fighting for. Let's go to John Frederick. John, it's pretty amazing here in Washington, D.C. today. Very, very moving, this outpouring of support for the president. And people got to understand, Biden, these guys, hey, until they put their shoulder will and help us get to the bottom of this, he's never going to be considered anything legitimate, legal, anything. This is, President Trump won this election on November 3rd, and and 72 million people are not going to back off. I don't care how many phony polls they do. Not one person at 72 million is going to believe this. And I think a lot of people that voted for Biden are not going to believe this. Get us up to date. Here's a question. Are you saying now, I think this is important, you're saying there's actually people in the Republican apparatus that are leaders down there that voted for Trump, they're outraged. Are they going to start demanding? Because right now, what the media is positioning this is that, hey, the Republican leadership down there gave the Trump, this is a typical Trump movement. All they do is whine. All they do is complain. All they do is think of conspiracy theories. They gave these guys everything they wanted. They wanted to recount. They got their recount, and now they got to whine about something else, right? And you got John Fredericks and Jenny Beth Martin and the War Room guys and, Corey Lewandowski, and now you got Linwood. All they're going to do is whine about this. So are Republicans down there prepared to hold the governor, the lieutenant governor, and particularly this disastrous Secretary of State accountable?
Yes, and the main thing is you've got the chairman of the Republican Party, David Schaefer, who is 100% behind this. That's key number one. You've also got establishment state senators like Senator Brandon Beach from North Fulton County, who came on my show for an hour and basically said he's had it with this whole thing. So there's a growing number of people. You got the two senators that called on Raffensperger to resign, but we need to give people a voice. That's the key. And if I could just say, Steve, I've moved my headquarters here to Atlanta for the foreseeable future, right through at least January 7th. We're launching the Georgia Star, which is going to be an affiliate of the Star Group and my Virginia Star. That launches on Wednesday. I've got 3 full-time reporters on the ground that we have hired right now. I mean, this is a unique opportunity. The Atlanta Journal-Constitution, which is the kingpin of fake news, has no competition. I want to encourage everybody to go to the Georgia Star. It launches 12:01 a.m. Wednesday the 18th. Sign up for the free newsletter every day. Go to thegeorgiastar.com and you're going to be good to go. We're also trying to get a radio station here. I'm close to that. But if you give people, here's what I've learned here in a week, Steve and Jack. If you give the legislators, the representatives, the Trump supporters in government, the Republicans, if you give them an outlet to get fair coverage, they will come out and speak the truth. One of the problems is they don't have that until we came aboard. That's why I'm getting everybody here on my show in our headquarters at the Intercontinental Hotel in Buckhead. This thing, the goal of Lynn Wood's lawsuit, here's the goal so everybody understands it clearly. The short-term goal is to right away stop the fraudulent recount. Stop it now. Second thing is start it back up when you can. Match the absentee ballots to authenticate the signatures, the address. Do they live in the state? Have they moved? That's the authentication process. That's the goal of Lynn Wood's suit. Without that, the recount is a farce because they're just recounting potentially fraudulent ballots. That's what the argument's over now. And you're now getting rank and file Republicans stepping up and saying, hey, this doesn't make any sense. No leadership, though, at all by the governor. He's just been silent. He's in quarantine. He's not saying anything. And so that's really what the battle is. And it's splitting the party in half. And the risk is for the two senators running on January 5th, Kelly Loeffler and David Perdue in the runoff, is that if they don't get this fixed, and you alluded to it the other day, Steve, it's scary, but a lot of these people are going to say the hell with it, and they're going to stay home on January 5th. That's what Perdue and Loeffler are scared to death of. That's why they called Tuesday for Raffensperger to be ousted or to resign.
By the way, the Republican establishment here, Mitch McConnell, these guys, they got to have not just Trump's back, they got to have this movement's back, because it's not a foregone conclusion they're going to show up. If they show up, Loeffler and Perdue win, no question, right? But you got to show, you got to give a little something to the effort here, and that is you got to have the back. This is everything right now. Remember, we said on the show the 14th of December, 2020 is the key date. We talked about this for months.